This is Elizabeth Clare Brewington with Discover Brightside, the video podcast. And I am here interviewing a woman that I recently met, Jo. And she pitched us to be on the show. And I thought, wow, what a story. So I'm going to let her share her story and then we're going to go deeper into it. And she's going to help you get some great advice and get her book and write a review. So over to you, Jo. Tell us all about it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, the book is called You'll Never Walk Alone, a hiker's memoir of adventure, tragedy, and defying the odds. And the the title is perfect for many reasons. I would not be walking today without all the help I'd gotten from everybody eventually. What happened in my case in November of 2018? I'm upstairs in my office right here where I am now, and it was raining. It doesn't usually rain in Southern California in late November, and a girlfriend was outside ringing the doorbell. I didn't want her to get wet, so I left my office, ran down the stairs, missed the bottom two steps, and went flying horizontally.
Oh no.
I know. And my husband heard the crash. He came running. I said, let Lana in. She's getting wet out there. So he lets Lana in. The two of them get me to urgent care. And the doctor at urgent care, her face just goes white because she looks at the x-ray they just took of my left foot and ankle. And she says, I hate to tell you this, but you have a complete rupture of your left Achilles. You're going to need surgery. And I'm not too upset about this because I know someone to call. We have a relationship with an orthopedist who did a little tweaking here or there. And but so I call him and I have his cell phone number. And he says, sure, come in tomorrow morning at 8:30, 8 o'clock. So my husband rents a wheelchair from urgent care. He wheels me in the next morning at 8 o'clock. And the doctor basically doesn't even look at my ankle. By that time, my left arm, where I had braced myself during the fall, has all started turning not just black and blue, but purple. And my whole left leg and left ankle. I mean, it doesn't look like any bruise I'd ever seen before. And he says, this doctor, he says, I can do this for you. I did Achilles repair 20, 30 years ago. I can do this. Now, Elizabeth, if some doctor said that to you or someone else in your family, you would go, well, thank you very much, Fred, but we think we're going to research someone who has done this 20, 30 minutes ago. But I'm in a wheelchair then. My bruises are getting worse, darker. And there's someone in front of us that we had a little bit of a good history with. So we go for it. Anyway, the area, he does the surgery, it's botched. The area becomes infected. After 8 surgeries
Mm.
from other doctors by that time, I have completely lost my left Achilles. It has died. It was never reattached during that first surgery, and it curled up on itself. The strongest tendon in my body curled up on itself like a little fetal mass in a little slimy area. And so now I can't walk. I was on a knee scooter for 144 days, and on the front of the knee scooter, we attach this little dingling bells to have a little fun in this very unfun medical journey. And then the doctor who botched the surgery many, many, many months later sent me an email out of the blue. And obviously, he knew I wasn't walking. And he said, you might try this place for rehabilitation. And he gave me a center in Northridge, from where I live in LA to where Northridge is, that's a lot like asking someone to drive from LA to London. I thought, I'll do it this one time, but that's it. I went there and Taylor Isaacs, the founder and director of the center, and he works mostly with spinal cord injury patients. So you go in there, everybody's in a wheelchair or everybody has some apparatus that's helping them learn to walk again if they're lucky. He had never worked with someone without an Achilles, although he'd worked with all these other extreme conditions. And he said, I can put my PhDs, all my medical sports history to work on your case and see if we can help you. 2.5 years later, I went there 2 and 3 times a week. At first, I was driven, I couldn't drive myself. And after 2.5 years, I was walking again. Now, when I say walking again, don't overload this. I was walking at half the speed. I would be out walking in front of our house here, and people would be whizzing by me. And I said to Taylor, I said, I'm only walking at half speed. And he says, to compare is to despair. Don't. I wrote this book to encourage other people. When they're given a grim diagnosis, you don't have to accept it. At one point in this story, a physical therapist I was working with who I liked. I mean, I'd had her over the house for lunch. I thought we were getting to be friends. And I go in for a session and she looks at me, she watches me walk across the PT facility, and she says, then she calls me back into her little office and she says, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but you have to accept that you're going to be compromised for the rest of your life. Well, first of all, you don't say, a medical professional does not say that to a client or a patient. What she was doing was, the only thing I had then was hope. Hope that I could get better, hope that I could walk again, hope that I could hike again to my favorite waterfalls all over the world. And what she was saying is she was dashing my hope. I never spoke to her again. I did start walking again. I mean, I'm still walking at slower. About a few weeks ago, I was with a doctor for another purpose with my husband. Had nothing to do with my ankle or my Achilles situation, not having one. And I said to him, people are saying to me, I mean, people like you who are interviewing me, the press, are saying to me, I'm a medical miracle. Is that hyperbole or is that correct? And he thought about it a little bit, kind of, huh. And he said, well, most people without an Achilles would be doing well if they could walk around their living room. Yeah, you're a medical outlier. You're a medical miracle. So my situation is, when anybody's given a medical grim diagnosis, it doesn't have to do with Achilles. It could do with anything. You don't have to accept it. You can reach out and find another path. As someone said to me, mine is a story of resilience and hope when life knocks you off the trail. Because I've been hiking since I was 5 years old. I can tell you that story if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to. What lovely. You're a great storyteller too. I've been enjoying just listening to you. And I can relate. I can really relate because it is so true. You go to see a doctor and they just prescribe medications that make you feel worse than you began, and then they diagnose you for things that are not related to the condition that you went to see them in the first place. And so there's so many issues with what you're saying, but I agree. You have to research. And that's one of the premises of our show, Discover Brightside, is that we want to keep people informed so that they can learn from people like you, get your books, and get empowered to live the best life that they could live. Because not being informed, not knowing what to do, not feeling feeling well is not a good situation. And so I love what you're doing. I love this whole book. And tell me about this hike. I really want to hear about it.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and we lived on the edge of Lake Washington Boulevard, right there. Seward Park, a gorgeous little park that happened to be designed by the Olmsted brothers. But what did I know when I was 5 years old? But the Olmsted brothers are the ones who designed Central Park in New York City. I mean, these guys are geniuses at park design. So at about 5, 6 years old, my mother would put me in a little pinafore with lace everywhere. And I would set off from our house by myself alone to walk over to Seward Park. There weren't any children my age in the neighborhood, so I just go by myself dressed in the pinafore. That's why mom dressed me then. There was no, Patagonia REI hiking clothes that we wore. And I would take a couple pushes on the swing, and then I would go up. There was a bark path that went up into an old growth forest in the park that was surrounded on both sides by trees that were 2 and 3 stories high. I mean, it was gorgeous. I loved that old growth forest. And then I would walk back and I'd walk back home. This is all done by myself. And a retired cop lived next door. And he said to my mom at one point, because he saw what I was doing, he said, "You might consider that it's not a good idea for her to do this alone by herself." And my mom said, "Well, she likes it." So from about 5, 6 years old, I had been hiking ever since. And after my accident, during this period when I had 8 surgeries, a friend said to me, "Well, do you consider yourself an ex-walker, an ex-hiker?" And I just went, "No way. No way. That is not going to happen to me." But one of the really important parts of my story, and the reason the book is titled You'll Never Walk Alone, is all the people who, when I had all those surgeries and I'm in bed with my left leg elevated in a cast on a pillow, all the friends and neighbors who brought over food and flowers and just little brought themselves, their presence. And some people were even brave enough when I had to be in the hospital 8 days, were brave enough to come visit me in the hospital because, as I say in the book, nobody teaches you hospital 101. Like,
It's true.
no, but like, what do you say when you visit someone in the hospital? They're there in that stupid flimsy gown. They're about to have surgery in my case, and what do you say? You don't want to, you don't know when to come exactly, you don't know how long to stay, you don't know what to bring. And the people who can embrace you in that environment too, or just come visit when you're at home in bed, that those were the people who helped me recover in this journey. And the doctors who finally signed on and took me on as to see if they could be helpful in spite of all I've been through.
Wow. Yeah, that's the time you find out who your real friends are. It's when you're in trouble that you really discover people. And yeah, I really think this is such an incredible story. Yes, and so many of us can relate to it as well. um so that's awesome. So thank you for this interview. I'll make sure that is do you have a website? Where can people get the book? I definitely want to put the book in our bookstore. We have a bookstore as well with Brightside, and I would love to feature the book as one of our women author books for this month. So is your book available on Amazon?
Oh, yeah, it's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold, but probably Amazon right now is the easiest way to get it.
Well, we are Amazon associates and influencers, so that's easy. I can link it to our store quite easily. So there you have it. The book will be available in our store. And thank you for this wonderful interview. And I'm looking forward to working with you more. And I hope you can come next week for our eighth annual Women Empowerment Conference. We do this every year. We bring a bunch of women together and we share great stories. And we also do a great hiking event next month, which is our Empower Earth series. And then I have Empower Health and Wellness in the month of May. So I think you'll do well with the book with all 3 months because it sounds like a terrific story. So thank you. And you are discovered on Discover Brightside.
Thank you.